Ever wondered what a small young girl Hitler would like? In today's recap, our MC takes the trophy on that. Hey guys, my name is Leia and welcome to Anime Recap Pro. We will check out the 2017 hit series The Saga of Tanya the Evil. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. The story starts as we're introduced to a subpar salaryman fired by his supervisor in Tokyo in 2013 after the latter pushes the former in front of a train. Time stands still as the supervisor plummets to the tracks, and he hears a self-styled god commanding the station's patrons to acknowledge him as God. The manager refers to the being as Being X and declares it's not God. Being X reincarnates the supervisor as Tanya an orphaned girl. After concluding that the salaryman lacks faith because he does not live in the circumstances requiring him to have faith, he might experience enough difficulties in an alternate 1913-era Europe to force him to have faith in Being X. In the early alternate Earth, a power similar to Imperial Germany called the Empire ruled over a large part of Europe. The Empire has a lot of industrial and military power, but it has few allies and a lot of potential enemies. The Empire's enemies, the Francois Republic and the Legidonia Entente Alliance, like France and Sweden/Norway in the real world, go to war with each other in the end. Tanya develops an underfunded orphanage in Berun, where routine tests reveal that she has a very high magical aptitude. Tanya decides to join the Imperial Army because she believes it will be better for her than going through war as an orphan. She excels and is given the responsibility of instructing new cadets at a military academy, much to Rugen's horror, but she is ruthless and unforgiving to her charges. Tanya, age 9, works as an artillery observer at the Northern Theater Force garrison in 1923. During the Entente's initial invasion of the Empire. Lieutenant Colonel Anson Su of the Entente orders Tanya to stay and delay them, which Tanya does at a high personal cost. Tanya is being pursued by a company of the 5th Aerial Mage Battalion. Tanya receives the Silver Wings Assault Badge later, back at garrison headquarters, and hopes she isn't assigned to the front lines. Instead, she is adorned and celebrated as an Empire hero. The Imperial Army and the Francois Republic engage in an Archerian battle at the Rhine. Corporal Victoria Serebryakov fights alongside 2nd Lieutenant Tanya Degurakov's 3rd Platoon of the Imperial Army's 205th Assault Mage Company in the fight against hostile forces. Tanya transfers 2 of the mages she's in charge of back to when they disobey her orders. Later, as the 205th is making its way to support the 403rd Assault Mage Company, Republican Army mages decimate the 403rd. Tanya commands the other 3 soldiers in her platoon to meet up with the other 205th soldiers while she engages the Republican wizards. After they reject her request that they stand down, Tanya destroys them. Later, military leaders meet in the Republican capital of Percy to talk about Tanya, who Republican Army troopers have dubbed the Devil of the Rhine for her fearsome combat prowess and performance. Much to Tanya's relief, she is assigned to the Tactical Instructor Squad away from the front after she is healed from her wounds. She experiments with a brand new type of computation jewel, the Elenium Type 95, which turns out to be as dangerous as being in direct combat due to the Type 95's extreme instability. Adelheid von Skugel, Chief Development Engineer, strains the Type 95 to its breaking point, but cannot make it stable enough. Following her criticism of the technology, she submitted a transfer request, which was granted, and the project was put on hold. The following evening, Being X animates a Nutcracker doll and accuses Tanya of lacking faith or insight. Tanya rejects Being X's claims and destroys the toy. The following morning, when she awakens, she believes it was a dream, but discovers a piece of writing on her nightstand that reads, "God wills it." Tanya takes part in one more experiment, and as the Type 95 is about to explode, Being X works a miracle to stabilize the jewel and show Tanya the extent of his power. As a result, Tanya is the only person who can use the Type 95, and when she does, she dramatically increases her power under the condition that she prays to Being X. This is a curse in her eyes. The events of episode 1 eventually result in Tanya being sent to the front again the following year. She suggests sending Victoria as well, and the headquarters choose to send her to officer training. Both of them get ready to go back for Burun from officer training. Meanwhile, the Imperial Army headquarters recognizes the need for a rapid response unit. Tanya is still undergoing officer training at a military academy and is succeeding in her academics 6 months after leaving the front lines. In the academy library, she runs into General Zatur, who who asks her what she thinks of the conflict. She foresees that it will escalate into a global competition and lays out an empire's strategy to minimize military casualties by utilizing the firepower and talent of mages. He is impressed by her ideas and knowledge of the conflict, and requests a report, which she views as a chance to advance professionally. Later, in a cafe, Tanya runs into Captain Uger, a rival from the academy. Uger admits to Tanya that he worries more about his family than the current conflict, specifically the long-term effects it will have on his daughter, who he fears may eventually be compelled to fight. Tanya is able to use emotional manipulation to persuade him to leave the academy in favor of a job in a less dangerous industry, securing her place among the academy's top students. Tanya's plan is relayed to General Kurt von Rudersdorf by Zatur. Tanya's proposal for a rapid response mage battalion is put forth by Zatur at a meeting held at the Imperial Strategic Headquarters and approved. Rurugan is incensed to learn that Tanya's plan has been carried out with her in charge of the Rapid Reaction Force at the Western Theater Garrison. Tanya accepts the Colonel's invitation to dinner, where she's given a command of a brand new 48-member Rapid Response Mage Battalion and elevated to the rank of Captain. Much to her horror, it turns out that this will be riskier than going into battle. A newly promoted Victoria is assigned to help her, which prevents Tanya from further postponing the battalion's formation. Tanya attempts to find ways to delay the implementation of the battalion, particularly after a large number of applications for the battalion are received. Most of the mages who apply fail Tanya's test to determine whether or not they should join the new battalion, resulting in a low recruitment rate and her superiors complaining that her standards should be lower. Tanya agrees to this compromise to accept more mages of lower caliber and promises to raise the standards of all the mages within a month. She is given complete discretion over how to approach it. She conducts a rigorous training program in which many students come close to passing out, which she hopes will discourage them from continuing in their studies. However, the mages decide to continue because they fear quitting will result in even worse punishment. Some are even motivated to meet her high expectations. Even by Tanya's standards, they have successfully evolved into capable soldiers in a month. She then receives orders to travel to the Grand Duchy of Dacia, whose troops have mobilized and crossed imperial borders, with her battalion known as the 203rd Aerial Mage Battalion or Pixie Battalion. The 203rd's first battle there is entirely in their favor. The Dacians lack the most fundamental anti-aircraft capabilities, lack mages, and continue to employ outdated methods of warfare. The elite 203rd easily repels the Dacian attack, causing significant Dacian casualties. The rest of the Dacian invasion force is turned over to regular Imperial forces, and Tanya orders the 203rd to accompany her to the Dacian capital to test their combat prowess. They discover the undefended Carbelius Arms factory there, which the Republic supports. Tanya commands the 203rd to attack it, but under international law, they are only permitted to destroy the factory if they have announced their intentions beforehand, leaving room for the armed retaliation. This would reveal the 203rd's unexpected benefit. Tanya uses a childlike voice to announce her plans to destroy the factory over the radio. Still, the factory employees mistake her announcement for a harmless kid prank, allowing the 203rd to destroy the building. Satisfied with their resounding success, the 203rd departs for base. Headquarters decides that the Imperial troops should be able to take over Dacia by winter completely. They then focus on the fact that the Empire is still fighting on two fronts, against the Entente and the Republic. They decide to destroy the Entente first, but they are worried that they won't have enough supplies because there are only enough for the Imperial army to get through the winter. The 203rd is finally told to move to Norden to fight against the Entente. Later, Tanya and Victoria talk about how the Entente might be working with the Republic and/or the Allied Kingdom, which is like the United Kingdom. This turns out to be true. Tanya realizes that Being X may be planning the next world war so that she will have no choice but to worship him. At Norden, the Viper Battalion fights against Entente forces that are attacking, but they take a lot of damage. The 203rd arrives just in time to save the Viper Battalion and start a counterattack. When more Imperial Army units offered help, Tanya turns them down because she wants to make a name for the 203rd. She decides to go after the enemy bombers, leaving the attack to the rest of the 203rd. After shooting down a group of bombers and landing to look for survivors, Being X stops time again and brings a dead Entente soldier back to life. He then asks Tanya what it's like to fight a war against the whole world. Being X's avatar is killed by Tanya, and later she gets rid of a hidden Allied Kingdom observation post that was spying on her. At Percy, Bientod tells General Pierre Miclaud Lugo that Entente attacks failed, and Republican mages were killed. He tells them not to send any more Republican mages to help the Entente. But Lugo says no, and it seems that being X is affecting him. Anson Su has been given the rank of colonel, but the Entente Ministry of Defense says that he is worried about dying and leaving his wife and daughter, Mary Sue, behind. Well, that's it for today. Can Tanya defeat being X and his schemes by winning the war? Want to find out? Click part 2 on the screen. Also, if you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next.